On this lovely day in Marlboro, New Jersey, we're here at the Imperial Oil Superfund site, where former Governor Jim Florio has joined environmental activist Robert Spiegel and a host of elected officials in celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Superfund program and calling for its reinstatement.
We're here today at Imperial Oil, and this site is a perfect example of why we need Superfund, why we need a robust Superfund to clean up this type of site, to put it back in productive use after many decades of it being a blight on the community.
In the mid-'70s, I think everybody became aware of the problems associated with being oblivious to industrial wastes, which were accumulated for a century almost, just being randomly disposed of wherever people wanted to. We had a whole cluster of different events. Love Canal probably was the most prominent one, of people discovering that they were living on top of toxic waste dumps or immediately adjacent to them. We passed in the Congress a law called Resource Conservation Recovery Act, which prospectively said we can't do this anymore. We have to make this illegal.
Earlier this year, Congressman Frank Pallone called for a reinstatement of Florio's tax on the oil and chemical industry at a Raritan Bay Slag press conference with the Environmental Protection Agency Regional Administrator Judith Ank.
The Superfund trust fund, which was a tax on petroleum and chemical companies that was put into a trust and used for cleanups when there was no responsible party, expired many years ago. I've been an advocate for years of reinstating that tax, and I've introduced legislation that would do so. Senator Lautenberg supports it, President Obama supports it, and so we would like to put in place again the Superfund trust fund so that there's money available not paid for by taxpayers to do the cleanup in the event there isn't a responsible party.
Pallone is teaming up with Senators Menendez and Lautenberg on new legislation that would reinstate Superfund, just as James Florio did 3 decades ago. Florio's Superfund program also benefited from an icon of the environmental movement, Lois Gibbs from Love Canal. Often called the mother of Superfund, Gibbs was a housewife whose passion and stalwart activism humanized the fight against toxic waste destroying communities across America. At Imperial Oil in Marlboro, local citizens like Tina Friedman are working tirelessly with elected officials and state groups like Edison Wetlands Association to ensure the cleanup is done in a thorough and timely manner.
I recall walking on this site and being nervous about being here. I was scared. I toured the site with my father, and I can't wait to the day where I can walk with my son on the site and it'll be clean. And in order for that to happen, the Superfund pollution tax must be reauthorized. What we need are those who are held, who did this, the ones who are responsible for causing contamination have to also be held accountable. And it's taken a long time, but we're looking forward to the day where it's finally clear, we can dedicate it to the residents of Marlboro Township, and it's a safe place to be.
It is our understanding from the EPA that November of 2011 is their estimated timeline for the completion of the remediation. Now that line may slip, but we are very hopeful that this long process will finally come to an end.
It's extraordinarily important, not only for the environment, but also very much for the health and safety of our citizenship. I live next door in Colts Neck, and this Superfund site goes directly into the Englishtown Aquifer, which is the water I use to clean my son in every night.
So we want to also make sure that the reauthorization is on its way, that we have our government officials on board and making sure that it moves in the right direction.
Indeed, Senator Robert Menendez, through his spokesperson Carolyn Pfefferman, noted that the fight is far from over, and as such he has sponsored the Polluter Pays Restoration Act in order to reinstitute that excise tax on chemical and oil companies. Assemblyman Declan O'Scanlan also expressed support for the Superfund reinstatement, while Congressman Rush Holt noted that the funding that is helping to clean up Imperial Oil, provided by the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, cannot be counted on in the future, and as such we must reinstitute Superfund.
The whole process that we used for funding was to essentially say that the polluter should pay, not the general taxpayer. And that money has run out. There's an effort by some of our United States senators, Senator Menendez, Senator Lautenberg, Congressman Pallone, to restore the whole concept of funding from the polluting industries.
As we see, things happen when the funds are there, and the people who are responsible for the pollution and for the damage ought to pay for it. It's simple as that.